All right, so we're going to get into a token analysis today, and it's one that you may be recognizing. We've had them here on our channel before, and that is Algorand. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. You know, as we do these market movers from time to time, the idea is pretty simple. We'll pull together a bunch of research, some news items, and then we'll layer in our data, which is quite a unique asset in terms of how we do technical analysis. And I'll explain it because if you're new to the channel, this is a very unique position that you will not find on any other YouTube channel out there. Of course, remember, this is not investment advice. It's investment opinion. We try to give you the best we can. But the best thing you can do, of course, as always, like you're doing right now, and that is go out and do your own research. You'll find your way, of course. Hopefully, we're pushing you in the right direction. But I want to jump to Algorand's main scenario here. If you understand a little bit about Algorand, and what I would recommend to kind of just get your head around what this means in terms of their technology and where they're going, take a look at one of our videos. So just search Algorand Paul Barron Network. You'll pull up a couple of videos that we've done with the Algorand team and some of their operating partners that is very unique in understanding what they do. And in general, this is one of those DeFi projects that has a lot of opportunity to really work, but not only in the DeFi space, also in many other applications outside decentralized finance. So there's a lot happening with Algorand in general. Now, the knock I think that Algorand gets, and it is a reasonable one to consider, is that it's a slow-moving project in the sense of price. So not a lot of price action. We'll show you that. But I think that is getting ready to change. There's been a lot of things happening within Algorand, and I think they're poising for some very interesting activity. So I want to jump to this first one. News right there. If you follow Algorand, you should just jump onto their notifications on their site because they do a great job on updating everybody. I want to jump to this one right here, which is Valkyrie Digital Assets. It announces the launch of the Valkyrie Algorand Trust to expand its digital investment offerings. Obviously, this is an interesting one because it is a vehicle that Valkyrie is investing just into ALGO. So when you think about these kinds of trusts that are getting active out there, especially for investors like this, for you to narrow in on one thing, it's kind of like the ETH trusts that are out there, obviously the Bitcoins, and we'll see a lot of ETFs that start to mix a few things, but for this one to go specifically with ALGO is a very interesting approach. Investors will have access and exposure to the cryptocurrency in an insurable, cost-effective manner. So again, very cool. Significant projects being built on it. This thing has a tremendous amount of new projects coming live on Algorand, which is why I think obviously what they're doing over at Valkyrie is basically trying to keep up with the Joneses, but in essence, they're going after kind of the leader of the pack type approach, which I think is the great thing to do with ALGO. The trust will seek to generate income on the crypto assets by leasing rights to use ALGO held within the trust to participate in the Algorand network, staking the consistent mechanism. So that's going to get into ALGO staking, which again is pretty significant when you think about it. Here's another point here, used by more than 700 organizations worldwide. So Algorand, and when you look at that team, they have been busy behind the scenes for the past few months, really amping up these kinds of partnerships. And I think that's the thing that really continuously surprises me, but at the same time pleases me to see these kind of projects really vet out. I want to show you something that's really interesting. Algorand and the Circle CEO, the power of stablecoins on a next-gen blockchain. The next-gen blockchain they're talking about is Algorand. So here was Kokonis and Jeremy Allaire, who's the CEO of Circle. Remember, Circle is USDC. So this has a tremendous opportunity for utilizing USDC as a payment transaction within the Algorand ecosystem and potentially within an Algorand payment transaction ecosystem. So all of that could be very interesting. And I want to look at a couple of quotes that they were pointed out for. So they pointed out the web lid radical explosion. Basically, they're saying, hey, remember back in the 1990s, this is kind of where we are right now compared to pre-internet era. Very similar to where we are right now in terms of cryptocurrency in general. And the key here and the advantage is that Algorand has this just insane throughput blockchain capability. So when they talked about the capabilities, this was basically Silvio Micali, who is their founder, and I've listened to him. I would recommend also a podcast, and that is the Lex podcast. Get the one with Silvio Micali and listen to his, not only his creation, but also of why Algorand is important, but even more so, listen to his thesis of why this blockchain is so different than many of the others. And it's better from the founder to really kind of dive into that, but I'd recommend that podcast. It is a little long, but it's definitely well worth the listen. It is a scalable, unforkable, and secure. So when you think about where ETH is right now, trying to do the London hard fork as we film this is happening this week. The hard forks are one of the most difficult things to do. It is there's our security issues. There's all sorts of problems that could result from the hard fork. You've got all these different protocols that are being implemented. It creates a little bit of noise on the ecosystems. With Algorand, they've already eliminated that, so there's no need. Well, it's already unforkable and secure, which I think is why someone or partners like what Circle is doing could potentially tie into what Algorand. And remember, I still believe that these these stable coins in general eventually are going to be your new bank. Whether we use that in a digital currency, whether it's the yuan or the euro dollar, or eventually the US digital dollar, and stable coins kind of attached to that, this essentially is going to be your new bank. It's where you're going to use your debit card, which is going to be a digital wallet that eventually will be the place. And who is going to handle payment transactions? None other than, I think, a company and project like what Algorand is doing. So USDC has been growing rapidly in a market cap, surging from less than 4 billion at the beginning of the year to 22.5 billion at the end. And again, thanks to their whole explosion, I think USDC is going to be the one that really kind of, I think, moves to the forefront over Tether in the sense, and of course with the fact that Algorand and other projects like this, and you also have to look at places like XRP, those kind of projects are out there as well that are doing high transaction volume, very secure transaction, where ETH doesn't have that right now, and many of the projects that are written or built on the ETH ecosystem also have those kind of limitations. So there's all of that kind of rolling into this. I want to add within this, I always do this when I'm looking at any project, and that is I get into the developer community. And for the most part, I kind of, my background, computer science, so I understand kind of the direction developers are going, but more importantly, what I'm really interested in are some of the key achievements that they've been able to do around that. So if you jump to the developer platform inside of Algorand, this is just some interesting things. The official Algorand wallet will add the Wallet Connect protocol in an upcoming release. This is in mid-August. It's coming up here. This is very important because this will enable a dApp developer to prepare and enable basically the utilization of a signed transaction generated by your app itself if you're using the Algorand. So you've got Algorand Signer. That's a wallet extension for Chrome. So you'd be able to do this within think of this almost like Stripe, if you know what Stripe is, where it's basically a credit card transaction within a website. Then they have the ALGO Connect, which is an integration that supports nearly all platforms and browsers, storing the keys on the client side. Then the official open source Algorand wallet, which is going to provide the mobile first experience. That's the whole thing. All of this is kind of coming in a very interesting time frame in which all of this stuff is coming out, and that is mid-August. So Wallet Connect, open protocol, wallet-to-wallet, dApps. It's not a blockchain, it has no token. Obviously, that's the key thing here. And I don't want to bore you with how this all works, but the idea is that they're going to have a multi-chain capable wallet in an essence of being able to build a transaction protocol that really starts to change the game of how you pay for things, maybe with USDC or other types of cryptocurrency that's out there. Now let's jump over to this little news story, which was Yieldly. So Yieldly comes in, they debut basically building on Algorand. So much like a Uni or a Sushi, they're essentially jumping in, and their first, what did they get? 8 million TVL in the first 48 hours. Yieldly is the first decentralized finance platform built atop the Algorand blockchain. So this revealed today in a 10 million in Algorand algo has been already staked, placing Yieldly within the top 40 DeFi protocols. This is a brand new project. As well as launching in a suite of recently audited non-custodial smart contracts on Algorand, Yieldly has launched a no-loss lottery for algo holders and its initial use case. So that's a big deal. And then, of course, the next little piece here, the no-loss lottery. Lot to it in terms of giving users the chance of being rewarded and share in the accumulated algo and Yieldly rewards program. So this is where it gets really interesting to me on how Algorand has been able to, one, jump in the DeFi space with Yieldly. They're moving in the wallet space. They've got these relationships over here at Circle. You've got these trusts being built on it that are definitely geared and pointed at the specific area of decentralized and secure and fast and carbon negative. All the right words when you think about where cryptocurrency and the DeFi projects could be going in the future. So here's the last thing I want to jump to, and this is Senator Warren, which is, of course, very active in understanding how to regulate decentralized and cryptocurrency in general. This was from Forbes, but what intrigued me was this statement right here. Warren said currencies extremely low transaction costs could make it viable means for an exchange for the 15 million Americans who, according to the Federal Reserve, don't have bank accounts. So this is a big deal if a digital wallet comes into play and someone like an Algorand along with a Circle and or other partners could essentially become that unbanked solution. Remember, this is happening right now in places like El Salvador. So the likelihood of this going into the next layer. And now there are some, I know some of you are going to hit this in the comments, but there are some issues with that with the unbanked because some of these people do want to work on a cash basis for, the reasons. This would remove that, and it would also give the government access to that 15 million people that are probably not necessarily carrying their weight in terms of taxation. So that is going to be one scenario that I think cryptocurrency in general and where we see digital wallets come into play are going to fly into kind of this dark market that's out there that would essentially be eliminated. And of course, this goes back to my concern of us eventually getting away from a true paper cash, or I should say cashless society. I think that's coming, and I've talked about this before on the show. Probably within 2030 is when we will not be utilizing any sort of fiat tendered money by 2030. With the advancements that we've seen right now, both in digital currencies and also in these e-wallets, and where that might be in the future. All right, so I know you guys always come for the party, stay for the news. Let's get into Algorand, the project, and kind of break down the trading view. And I want to kind of show quickly where this potentially can go. So we've got sentiment scoring in. Let me jump over here and get a little marker for you guys. Sentiment scoring in here at this top, and this was, of course, was on July 20th. The range was 52.34. Amplification during this period of time was 46.55, which is not a bad amplification. And of course, that is where you essentially see that amp play out. This right here is an interesting little move that happened with Algorand with a new top and then an immediate fall. So this could have been a little bit of manipulation here. I think actually we're going to see that more and more with this particular project, because it's getting more out in the open, and there's a lot more opportunity when you look at this kind of volume flow that they're working. So during this drop, though, we looked at the sentiment again at 54.98. So again, up from the 52.43 to the 54.98. But more importantly was this little guy right here where the amplification jumped again. And now we've seen a little side action here, and we're within that range, but look at the potential zone right here for Algorand. There's a lot of blue sky out here of where Algorand could really end up in terms of price predictions. So I think they have got a great opportunity. I know a lot of people have been trying to push it to $1. We may see the dollar price point, coming in August, especially with this situation in mid-August where we start to see some of these wallets roll out. I think it might be September before we start to really see Algorand take off. The question, of course, it doesn't seem to move with Ethereum and Bitcoin, which is a good thing because it essentially is not that. So there's a good opportunity out here. I think right here, Algorand is a buy. If you're shopping for tokens and you're looking at projects to really invest into, there's a lot to say for the Algorand project. I'd like to get them back on once they roll this out and they really get some participation and some application use case in play. That's when I want to get their team back on to really talk about that, because then what we're going to be dealing with is the upside for adoption and what kind of potential opportunities does that mean, especially as we roll into 2022, which is going to be a very interesting year for digital payment through some sort of e-wallet, and maybe it's the Cash App. We just did a video on this with what's happening with Cash App and Jack Dorsey. Lots happening in the DeFi space, and companies, I think, and projects like Algorand are very interesting to continue to watch. If you're listening in over on the podcast, the best thing to do right now is just give us some stars, and of course, send it around to your buddies and let them know that TechPath is a great podcast to subscribe to. That's a great one. Also, if you're here on YouTube, hey, listen, subscribe to the show. If you're here and we've got something for you, we cover blockchain, we get into innovative technology such as EV, and of course, a lot on autonomy and robotics, because we do like to go in that direction. We do a couple of drone videos here and there. The main thing is we're looking for technology that is changing the landscape of the human race, and that's where we are, especially around cryptocurrency. If you want to reach out to us and you have an idea for the show, you can send us an email to producer@revernetworks.com, or you can always hit me up on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.